I was so taken aback when I first saw that spoiler.
I have some questions because hello all and welcome to episode 29 of the Win and In podcast. I am your host Eric Dauernheim. Today Gabe is out on vacation finding himself in the woods or something like that. So instead we have a regular guest of ours at this point. We've been on for quite a number of episodes. Mr. Brodie Spurlock. How you doing, Brodie?
Hey, Eric, I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. I appreciate you coming on. I try to get you on, especially after a big win. But you know what? It's going to be a little different this time because it's not all about wins between us. We've been playing together with each other. We know each other. We're good friends. So we're just going to have fun with this one and kind of just talk about what's going on and what's to come. How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, awesome. Okay. All right. So the big thing that has happened over this last weekend is we have got nearly all the spoilers given to us. Um, Initial thoughts. I mean, Prism looks busted. That's my big thing. Levia or Levia, she looks like she's going to be a lot of fun. And Bolton, I think, kind of got pushed under the rug from the other two heroes. But yeah, what's your thoughts on spoiler weekend?
I can't wait to start testing with these cards. I think my number one reaction to individual cards throughout the weekend has been, wow, I really don't know how to evaluate this, just like looking at it on paper.
Right? Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah, like there's some equipment, like the new Runeblade equipment. I don't quite know how I feel about that yet. You know, what's your
Yeah,
thoughts? You're a Runeblade guy.
so I don't know. It's all really interesting. I think the AB2 chest piece is really nice just to have more armor if that's what you want to have. I think
Okay.
Ironweave is really powerful, and those two cards are pretty comparable, but I suspect because of the AB2, that card will make it into almost every Runeblade sideboard, and then in
Fair.
some matchups, I feel like it's quite likely that versus Lexi, for example, in CC, we would see Viscerize play that kind of card over Aether Ironweave for the extra, 5 breakpoint block.
True. Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking too. I was thinking if there's going to be a hero that runs it, it's probably Viscerai. I think Briar would probably still want the Ironweave or Tunic maybe, and then obviously when you're competing against Karen Husk, that's huge. So you're probably sticking with Karen Husk if you're a Shadow. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. That was one. There's a few others like you said. But yeah, I don't know. Is there any that really excite you? That like, is there a particular hero that you want to play test first, or
I definitely am most interested in Vincent just because I loved
okay,
Chain so much. I like
yeah,
Runeblades in general. That's where I'll be starting. But then uh, I would love for Levia to kind of like be stronger than she has been in the past and really make a
hmm
splash in the meta and get to test with her. And then also Prism. I actually am quite excited about Prism because I never got to play the old version, and that's one of my biggest regrets in the game is never piloting that hero before it LL'd. So I'm really excited, and I hope that it kind of mirrors the playstyle of old Prism, even though the deck seems like it'll be pretty different.
I mean, you kind of could, right? Like, you still have Spectre cards, right? There's a way that you could still kind of. But I'm with you on that. Like, obviously, I played Oldham back then, and I hated Prism, because it's nearly unwinnable matchup. But had Prism come into my life now, I probably would play Prism. It seems like the more control-y deck. Now with this version, I kind of think she's still going to have that control element with her. Obviously, having control in some aspects and then attacking with the big heralds and angels and others. But yeah, it seems I will admit that I'll probably be playing Prism, which is kind of a sour taste in my mouth a little bit.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see all of the old Prism mains. It's been at this point quite a long time since she left, so I know some people like Fino are gonna immediately jump back on Prism and will be happy to have her back. But then I don't know. Well, it'll be interesting to see if anyone has kind of switched up since then. If they're they become a Prism hater, or if old Prism haters, like you're saying, this is probably what's more likely. Old Prism haters become new Prism mains.
Ah, dude. The truth, though. Yeah, you know what? I got another one for you. I wonder how many Dromai players are going to sell their fully, marveled out Dromai deck to convert to Prism. Oh man, yeah.
I do think I do think a lot of the Dromai mains were like, you know, previous Prism players.
Hmm.
So it's quite possible that a chunk of them are just gonna like drop Dromai and go back to their old queen.
Yeah, you know what? We'll make some financial advice now. Look to buy those tumble ties. They're gonna go down. Everyone's gonna sell. Yeah, but yeah, let's talk about Vincent because that's the other one that's out. It's the other new hero that's out, operating in a different aspect than what we've seen Runeblades operate before. A lot of high power attacks. Yeah, I Vincent for me right now, and I'm very curious what your take on this is I don't know. I don't know how to like I don't even know where to even start deck building. So I think with Vincent, I'm almost like gonna just wait for someone else to do it first. But I don't know. Is there any patterns you're seeing, or what is your take on it?
So I think that Vincetta is like the most unique Runeblade we've had. In the way
Hmm.
she's gonna play, she feels more quote unquote mid rangey perhaps than the other ones. Um, I think a week ago, my take was if they don't print some more make rune chants go again like non attack actions, um, then she's not gonna like rune gate's not gonna really make sense because there weren't a lot of those in the game already. But
Right.
I think we have seen two or three of those in spoiler season, and like two or three playsets is a lot of cards. So I think Runegate is going to be quite powerful if you can just use those cards plus her hero ability, and then plus maybe a couple tools like Vexing Quillhand to like always have rune chance on demand.
That's true.
Um, I think that like Runegate potentially can go way above rate. So I'm really curious to see how she plays in games. I feel like her hero ability that says rune chance can't be prevented can do some cool stuff with spellbound creepers versus control decks. So I'm like curious. There's so
Interesting.
many so many things are I'm just like I'm really curious to see what happens with this, but I don't know what it's going to look like in practice.
Yeah, yeah. No, I 100% am with you on that. But yeah, like what you're saying with there's that one spoiler that came out that gives an eloquence token if you lost life. You can play at instant speed. That's insane. That's like got to be her one of to me that seems like one of her best cards to because then you can play read the runes and it has go again. It's like okay, that seems pretty good.
Yeah, that could be crazy.
Yeah.
Eloquence is just quicken for non-attacks, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, she's exciting. Her ability, I think, is the part that scares me. Having to banish a card from the hand. It's almost as if you have three intelligence, kind of, right? You still get to draw four and whatnot, but yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like it could be really dangerous if you just draw all normal cards, then you just straight up lose a card at the start of your turn. But like if you play enough blood debt, then you can ideally you can use that ability to go plus because like you banish a card that gets better from banish zone.
Right.
But then you don't want to have like too many blood debt cards to the point where I don't know, maybe it starts to get risky. It's interesting because since Vincent doesn't have soul shackles, it feels like you have a lot more like a lower ceiling for your banish zone, but also more control about what, or like as far as what ends up in there,
That is true.
and it's less likely that you're gonna like spiral out of control with blood deck cards.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's a good point to make. Yeah, she is almost in total control of what's going in there. There's a few cards that you banish from top of deck or whatnot, but yeah, so you will know what's in there. But I like what you said there because even Vincent has the classic Runeblade dilemma, which is do you have all Runeblade or all Runegate cards in your hand, or you have no Runegate cards in your hand? Kind of like the non-attacks and attacks, so you have a healthy combination of both. So they kept it on theme there. I gotta appreciate that the old Runeblade dilemma theme. But yeah,
Yeah, it is cool to me though that we have some non-attacks that can be played from banish zone because aside from Seeds of Agony and Howl from Beyond, um, we haven't seen many of those in the past that are like played and constructed.
yeah. I'm happy to see more coming around. Let's talk about some other heroes that aren't new, but like some of the heroes that might have got stuff. Because one of the heroes I think got a huge upgrade is chain. I feel like there's so many chain cards that got printed here, which is of course only legal in Blitz, right? Well, Commoner too, but mostly just in Blitz right now. But man, I gotta feel like chain just is gonna be gas. I don't know. What's is it? You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've been thinking about all the spoilers in terms of Inset, but to be honest with you, I hadn't even like really considered what it's going to look like for Chain. The only thing I had thought about was the new Blood Debt Shadow equipment, where you like prevent 2 damage and then banish it. I
Oh,
think
right.
those like maybe they're mostly designed for Levia, but I do think they could serve as like multiple even folds for Chain versus specifically Kano and Blitz, and I'm really curious to see if that like improves his Kano matchup significantly.
I think so, right? I mean, like before he would run like the even fold and whatnot just to have that spell void into instant pop. Well, now like you have it here as well. So I when I saw those equipments, I was like, they seem really, really good. Like I think they're very well played. And yeah, he won't be able to get rid of the blood depth. And so with Levi, yeah, you could get rid of the blood depth. But it's kind of a last ditch effort anyways to keep you alive to win the game. So I think yeah, that's probably worth. Yeah. All right. So that was any other new heroes because Chain I think is one of the easiest ones to kind of see. There's obviously a lot of Shadow Runeblade stuff coming out, but is there any heroes that might you think coming from the past sets that would be getting any upgrades or maybe just doing just fine coming into this new meta?
I think one hero that's gotten quite a few upgrades that we haven't touched on much is Bolton.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true. Yes, let's talk about Bolton. Absolutely.
I haven't played hardly any Bolton in my life, um, but I know a couple people who are like really into Bolton. We have one guy around here in Dallas who's kind of a Bolton main, and I will be really curious to see um, what the deck looks like now that it's kind of like yellow matters synergy.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah, it's funny how that's what Prism once was, and now it's Bolton. So it's kind of cool in that way. I wonder if cards like Vestige of Soul or Library could even get played with this new Bolton. That might be a little spicy, but I don't know. It kind of opens up those pathways, I suppose.
That would be really cool. I would be interested to see a Vestige Bolton.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it takes a lot to be better than Courage of Bladehold, but I would definitely be interested to see a spicy brew.
Yeah, it definitely does. But and on top of that, he also got his another new armor piece, as well, and that's like purely a Bolton card. So yeah, I'm interested in Bolton. I think I will be playing him to test him out and kind of see where he goes. But I don't know. I guess there, just like with Vincent, I'm not super knowledgeable quite yet. I'll probably wait till someone else does it, and then I can pick it up from there. Um, it does seem like they really moved away from like combo Bolton because there wasn't any cards that I've noticed straight off the bat that just like, yeah, this is for combo Bolton. It seemed more like, no, this is like how you can do Raiden Bolton a little easier.
Right.
Yeah. So I can see him go in that direction. Yeah, let's see. I think that was it. I was almost expecting we kind of always get like some random blitz hero, whether it's like Genus or Yoji. So I kind of was expecting something like that for this set, but it was just mostly CC heroes. I guess the weird random one is the Levia Redeemed or the Plasma Fet one being a Demi hero. Um, which yeah, that's a whole new ability. That's a whole new can of worms.
I was
Um,
so taken aback when I first saw that spoiler.
right?
It's like it's really cool, but I like had no clue what I was looking at.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. In fact, right now, I have a good friend of ours, Wyatt. He's looking up to see if you can play that in Blitz because normally you can only have equipment as your sideboard.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
yeah, so I never thought about that until now, and I'm like, yeah, I wonder, is that even a Blitz card or not? But I don't know. Yeah, there's so many questions regarding that card. I'm sure judges will be on their feet, ready to answer them because it will be out there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I can't wait to try that out as well. That is going to be a fun hero to play around with. That I will just get right onto deck building. I won't wait for people on that one. I'll go right into it. I have a few heroes that I think are going to be just fine coming into this Dust Till Dawn meta. And one that I think, and it's not even super spicy. It might have been a little spicy before, but now that Oldham's gone, I kind of think Katsu is the hero that's going to be the dark horse that's going to come into this meta and just do what he wants to do. And Bonds of Ancestry is going to be a broken card, and people are going to talk about Prism, but really Katsu is going to come through. I don't know. That's my spicy take.
I could see it. Yeah, I've been thinking about it for a while, like what the meta would look like post Oldham, like if we didn't get a new set. And honestly, I actually was kind of disappointed that there were no tournaments of the in between meta because I was curious.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd been cool. A whole little new meta. But you know what? Actually, we're going to use that as a transition. I like that. Okay, because we're going to transition now to there's a time when the meta is completely resolved. You know what's going to be the top heroes. And especially towards the end of that meta, it becomes kind of a stale period for a lot of players out there. You know, uh, I know me and you both noticed it around. Now, one thing that people might not know about you is that you tend to go to every armory that you can. Um, I'm the same way. Here in Vegas, I go to 2 armories a week, and if there's a third one, I'll go to the third one. You're a madman because you'll go up to like I know when Dallas was in its prime, it seemed like 5 a week, I think, or something like that. Yeah, which I call you madman, but I also did that too, so I totally get it. We like this game a lot, but one thing that we definitely noticed is that not as many players tend to play at that time. So you're probably one of the most active. You're you know, as you started like what, like at Tales of Aria, right?
Yeah, December of 21, so like late tails.
And you're already, in the lifetime, coming up, and like when these are you're surpassing people that have played from the beginning because of how much you play. So for these stale times, like obviously we're getting past that. Dust Till Dawn's coming out, people are getting excited. But for the times right before, what keeps you playing? What keeps you going to these armories?
Yeah, so usually even when the meta is pretty solved and there's not a lot of innovation left to do, um, I usually use that time to learn new heroes because especially at armories and things, like if I don't need to spend time grinding a deck because I'm going to play it at a tournament soon, what I'll usually do is like try a new, like maybe not S tier deck, but like A or B tier deck that's going to be perhaps the best deck soon, or it could be, and I want to like kind of have it in my back pocket so that if it gets to that point, I can audible over to it quickly. Like for example, last December I did that with Kano. I did that recently with Dromai. Just like put a couple of weeks into these heroes, so that I have a basic understanding of all of their matchups and how they play. And I think it also helps, even if I weren't to ever play those heroes at tournaments. I think it's nice to have played a lot of the matchups from that perspective in case I play against them. Like especially with Dromai, I think after playing it myself, it made me much better at playing into it. And I was also going to quickly mention Dallas has actually ramped up a tiny bit. And
Oh,
now,
cool.
if, like in terms of total armories per week, I just wanted to, I'm not sure if you've heard this, but technically, if you are like just in town all week and you are available, basically 24/7 minus work hours, you can play 9 armories a week.
Okay, cool. So it has ramped up then. That's awesome. That's great. So how many stores is that?
So it's like basically, um, it's 9 unique stores. There's one every night, Monday through Friday, and then Saturday is the big day. Technically, there's a store in Denton that runs at 1, and then another armory at 4 p.m. and another armory at 8 p.m. And if
Wow.
you kind of get a group of people who are like all planning to go to those, then you can get all three to fire in a row and like barely make each one. And then
Yeah.
Sunday has the long Winnabox Armory. So it's like 6 days plus three on Saturday.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So yeah, if you're just wanting to jam some flesh and blood in Dallas, Saturday's the day for it for sure. Okay, all right. Moving back to the trying new heroes. I totally agree. I think that's whenever I start playing new heroes as well. I'll even roll dice sometimes just to like get something new. Um, I was finding myself playing Dorinthia a few weeks ago for some armories, and I absolutely agree with you. Even I didn't play Dorinthia at the Battle Hardened, and I don't plan on playing Dorinthia anytime soon. But Dorinthia, especially, is one of the heroes that if you know how to play her, you know how to play against her, and I think there's a lot to learn from that. I do have a question though. One thing that I know that helps me keep going in like the stale periods is different formats. I don't know how many different formats is in Dallas, but I find Blitz to be refreshing towards the end of a season, and even Commoner.
Yeah, we've been playing some Commoner around here recently. Um, One of the stores in particular does Commoner like once or twice a month sometimes,
Cool.
and it's been a lot of fun to kind of explore a meta that doesn't have nearly as much like kind of competitive attention on it.
Hmm.
People haven't put a ton of time into trying to break it, and so it's just interesting to see like what's winning, um, and like how the different decks play into each other with something that's a bit less explored. And ultimately, it's a casual format, but it's also fun to like kind of think about like what would I do if the world championship was commoner, right? Like I don't know, I have no clue what's like A tier, S tier in this format. So yeah, I think like the main four formats that I've spent time on are obviously CC and then Blitz, Draft, and Commoner. And I mean, even Sealed also can occasionally be nice to mix it up.
That's a good point.
Um,
Yeah.
Personally, I like Draft a lot more than Sealed, but I
Same.
think that like sometimes it can be fun just to um, learn something new, regardless of what it is. Like I've found that in the last couple sets, the strategies in Sealed tend to be quite a bit different than Draft, or like the way the games go. So it's cool just to have something else to put time into. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's the tail end of the season. We're about to hit the fresh end of the season. It's we're getting a whole new meta season coming up. People are excited. I'm excited. I'm sure you're excited. Um, Now, this is new because we're getting new heroes. We're getting old heroes with new cards. What is something that you do differently during this time period versus like towards the stale end?
I think like the moment a new set drops like this, I put specifically more time into CC because I think whenever the CC format changes, there's a lot of matchups to be tested, and like depending on what has changed it. Like in this case, we're getting a new set, so there's a lot of deck building to be done, and I think that especially like with Dusk Till Dawn, there's going to be several battle hardens later this month. So there's kind of pressure to figure out the format quickly. So I will be basically trying to optimize my time as much as possible to like quickly test. Like I guess there's three steps. Step one is put together deck lists for the new heroes and try to come up with the best initial deck list we can. Step two is test matchups to basically figure out like, is the best deck the same as it was in the old format, or is one of these new heroes the best deck? What's probably going to have the best matchup spread? And then step three is all within this like 1 or 2 week time span, lock into one of the decks and learn it well enough to play at a tournament. And so it's just like you go from this like stale quote unquote period where you have quite a bit of time and you can like dabble around with new heroes to this super time crunch where you have to really optimize your time to prepare quickly, at least in this case when we have battle hardens coming up so soon.
Yeah, Battlehard Cincinnati, I'm sure is the one you're kind of referring to right here. I would be super surprised if you weren't going to that at this point. But that is the 14th through the 16th, which is like less than 2 weeks away. Like it's
Yeah.
insane. Now I wonder because those I think are some of the most fun when it's just brand new. Uh, the previous season you took Azalea in the very beginning and worked out very well. And I think one of the things was kind of what we were talking about. Not a lot of people played Azalea or even played against Azalea, so maybe they didn't even know how to interact. I also was playing Azalea in the beginning, and yeah, it was amazing. And then she kind of got figured out. But I think it's the most fun to play. But I kind of wonder, you're hyper competitive. I respect your grind, but I have to ask this question: do you feel that it's a little less I don't know, I guess like do you feel a little less pressure to do as well in the first one just because it's not figured out yet? I don't know.
I don't necessarily feel like less pressure to do well, but I do think that it's a lot harder to evaluate, let's say, a given deck's odds to win. Like late in the format, sometimes people will make the decision between like, and I've heard a lot of players talk about this, like either I want to play the good deck that I don't absolutely love as much, but I want to win, versus the deck I really enjoy and maybe I won't do as well. And like, people set different goals for a weekend, and you can have like a basic idea of like what you would expect your deck's win rate to be if it doesn't run into X bad matchup. But like all of those conversations kind of go out the window for the first tournament where
Truly.
there your deck might have like a free or an unwinnable matchup that you don't even know about yet because you haven't had time to test it. You don't know like with me playing Azalea, I really didn't know what deck to play. Based on the limited testing we had done, I felt like Azalea was probably one of the decks with the best chance to win the tournament. But there's just like so much you don't know, so it's a lot harder to have expectations or an idea of how the weekend might go, or like what heroes you even want to be playing against.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's kind of the fun of it as well, just going into the unknown. But a lot of eyes are going to be on you. A lot of eyes are going to be on this tournament because that is the first tournament to have an idea of what this meta is going to look like. Then we got Chicago. Are you going to Chicago as well?
Yeah, I'm planning to be at both of those.
Okay, okay. So it's basically, uh, you got like a week and a half to prepare for this one, and then like a week later, you're in Chicago. Salt Lake. I'll be at Salt Lake. Are you going to Salt Lake?
When is Salt Lake?
Salt Lake is August 5th through the 6th. It's the first week of August.
Oh yeah, I'm planning to be at that one, and
Okay.
then crazy little extra tournament to toss in the middle there. I'm actually really hoping to go to the Calling Birmingham in Europe.
Oh, see, I just passed that because I was like, that was okay. All right. All right. Well, yeah, like I said, man, you're extreme. Okay. All right. Yeah. So, I mean, damn, that means by Salt Lake, you'll have three big tournaments under your belt. You already know you'll have it over me on that. But yeah, we have a lot of battle hardens before the big nationals event here in the states, and that's going to be good because that's going to have a lot of time to be able to figure out the meta by then. I like the bigger tournaments personally when a meta is kind of figured out. I understand the appeal of like going into a new meta right before but I don't know. I kind of like when it's more figured out and that I don't have to like you said stress and so like little time like figuring out okay like matchups and then picking a deck and yeah all that stuff
yeah, I kind of like it somewhere in the middle. Like Calling Singapore recently was quite late in the meta, and I think it was pretty figured out by then.
yeah
But like Pro Tour Baltimore was kind of right where I like it, where we'd had like one or two, or not one or two, definitely two, being Chicago and Richmond, like
hmm
events in the states that had pretty like publicized results and deck lists and things. So there was an idea of the meta, but it wasn't so solved yet, and there was still a lot of like innovation at Pro Tour. That's kind of like right where I like it, and I think Nats will be similar. There will be a couple more tournaments before Nats, so it'll be like even more figured out, but hopefully not completely solved. Like last year's Nats, we saw Hamilton come with like this totally new brew and win the whole thing. So hopefully we get
yeah
like one or two spicy lists like that.
Well, yeah, and that wasn't like super fresh into that meta either. So, yeah, that could easily happen here again. Um, that would be really cool. Obviously, that changed up a lot, and it translated into worlds, which we still don't know. Okay, so where was I going with that? Okay, so that now I'm back on track here. All right, so we're both going to nationals. Um, and I talked to you a little bit about this before, but this is the first time I'm telling all you listeners out there is that I'm gonna be doing some interviews, and this is with anyone. So if anyone wants to come up and talk to me and do a quick interview, I have some questions because I want to ask two things or two topics, I suppose. First, I want to kind of get the pulse of Flesh and Blood across the nation, and what better place to do it than at nationals. I want to know what the local armory scenes look like. How many players are you getting, and what's the is it a casual? Is it kind of competitive? What's going on there? So let's start with that with you first, Brodie. You mentioned that you can do up to 9 armories, which is insane, and that's really cool. So that tells me that Dallas has a good scene to be able to support that many armories in one week. What would you say? What's your feel on it?
Yeah, I feel like we have a really strong fab scene. It's kind of interesting because it's like such a big metroplex, Dallas and Fort Worth, that each store kind of has its own group of regulars, and there's some overlap between different stores. But it's actually interesting, like because of how spread out it is. I would say there are some people who, like, let's say there's two individuals who are in opposite sides of the metroplex, and they've both been regulars at a particular armory for like over a year. And I see them both every week because I am willing to drive like 40 minutes to an hour one way to get to an armory every night. um but then, like, I'll realize that they've never met each other because they kind of have their separate stores. So it's interesting, we have kind of these like little mini communities, and then everyone comes together at like pro quests and road
Right.
nats and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it's like a pretty large fab scene, all things considered, and I really like all the people. Like I feel like that's true everywhere I go with fab, but like everyone's really nice and friendly, and it makes it a really fun place to spend my evenings every night.
Well, I will say I think that it also helps that you're a very approachable guy. And despite you can try to hate Brody because he wins all the time, but if you ever get to know Brody, it's like, okay, you can't hate this guy. This guy's cool. So I think that helps to hear as well. But that's great. That's awesome to hear that. That you get a lot of good interactions. Dallas looks like a good community. Um, would you say that it's growing in Dallas? Would you say that it's staying the same, or what's your thoughts?
I definitely feel like it's growing over time. A lot of the like regular faces that I see now at Armories weren't playing at all in 2022, and I feel like every couple weeks I see some new faces, like some of our current players who are a little bit newer in the sense that they haven't been playing since like Tails or Everfest, are bringing on their friends who are like just now starting an Outsiders, say. And then also there's one new store. For a while we didn't have Wednesday nights, but a store recently started doing Wednesday night armories, and I've met two pretty new players there recently who are like just in the last couple of weeks I've met them, and like now they're getting more involved, coming to different stores. So yeah, I feel like it's constantly growing, which makes me really happy.
That's great. Yeah. That's what this is all about. I'm trying to get the pulse throughout the nation. So Dallas looks to be doing good. That's awesome. I like to hear that because what we see when we go to these big tournaments is like Battle Hard in LA. That was 148 players, nearly sold out. For Battle Hard, a year ago it would have been right under 100 players. So you could tell that's growing. The callings, every new calling is a new number. Let that guy increase, right? Like the calling at Baltimore, it's like a ridiculous. I think it was like, man, I just know that we end up having to play 9 rounds instead of 7 rounds or something like that. And it was like, holy crap, dude! Like it's insane. So you're seeing the numbers grow as far as these big events. So I just want to see if that's translating to the local armory scene because I do hear. stories on the other end where some cities are in decline, and so me and you, we love this game, so I just want to kind of keep the pulse on it. Okay, the second set of questions, and again, this goes out to anyone who wants to come. If you're a part of a team, I would love to ask you some questions, because I want to kind of put together a video, explaining how each team approaches these big events and how they prepare, and like what the differences are and what's the similarities. So we'll start with you, Brodie. Obviously, you are a part of Team Wolfpack, right?
Yeah.
All right. A renowned team of Flesh and Blood. And so I'm very fortunate to be able to ask you these questions. What does your team, as far as like practices or anything else that you might think is significant, do to prepare for something like nationals coming up?
Yeah, so we work together for both formats for these like split format events. CC and draft. I would say the team um spends a bit more time on CC in the sense that at least for me personally, I feel like it can be really helpful to get in-person drafts, and we don't
Mm-hmm.
all live in the same space. Like we're spread out across the nation. I mean,
Right, right.
so I think for draft, we try to do a little bit more in-person draft with just, our local communities. And
Okay.
then CC is more like online with the team, but we still do plenty of online drafting and like discussing limited over Discord and stuff. But I do find for whatever reason that I feel like I learn more when I do the draft in paper, just kind of like seeing all the decks there together, watching the bracket play out in real time. It's I don't know why it just registers with my brain better. But yeah, we tend to test like leading up to a big event like this. Um, there will be games going every day. I usually try to test every morning in these periods. Like um, that's kind of the go-to time in the Wolfpack for a lot of people. Just like before work starts, you get up early, play a couple test games online, and then yeah, we just try to basically everyone hops around decks as much as they like, and then once people are kind of locked in on what deck they want to play for a tournament, we all just try to like match up and give each other the matchups we need. Like if we have two people playing, let's say in like one of the previous metas, two people on Dromai, we had for Pro Tour Baltimore like seven on Oldham and seven on Lexi or whatever. Then we're trying to like coordinate like if someone wants games into a particular hero. Most likely there'll be someone else on the team who's been like playing that hero recently. So yeah, we're just like playing every day, trying to communicate to figure out what everyone needs, and then like using our time as optimally as possible, letting if someone needs a matchup into a particular hero, we're trying to, if possible, let them play into someone who's trying to actively test that hero, so that we're helping each other while also like working towards our own goals that we were working toward anyway. And then limited, we like discuss pick orders and like the cards we think are good, and then try to do online drafts, which is kind of a work in progress. I think that there are several tools out there now that have been making like drafting online more easy and fluid. So it's something I'm excited to jump back into with Monarch, and hopefully like have it be a smooth and productive process, because I think it is harder to like coordinate limited online than constructed.
Definitely is. I definitely feel that sentiment there. Okay, so obviously I'll be asking a lot of people at nationals, and so I'll have a better, like one of my questions is going to be, when did you guys start practicing to prepare for nationals? So I guess for you, what I'll ask is, have you guys started yet, or are you guys, planning to start here? Like I guess like now with all the cards coming out.
Yeah, so we've done some Monarch limited work already.
Okay.
A couple drafts online and discussions and stuff. And then as soon as we have the full set spoiled, I think we're gonna try to jump into CC and like really get back to that like daily testing. I think a couple people have already been running games like this weekend with spoiled cards. I haven't jumped into constructed yet at all for post Dusk Till Dawn, but very soon, like within the next couple days, I think we're gonna basically have the full set and can really get into it.
Cool. And you mentioned before, the draft or the practice time is right before work, which I think is like I'm gonna say that's probably pretty unique to you guys. But I think it's really cool. It makes sense. Uh, is that like a daily sort of thing? You know, Monday through Friday, or is that do you guys have like like three times a week, or what does that look like?
So we have kind of like, because we have quite a few members on the team, it does vary from person to person.
Hmm.
For me personally, I try to just get on every morning, Monday through Friday, around that time before work, and then different people will do different things. Sometimes, especially for drafting, people will organize like a big group draft, like on a particular weeknight. Um, Usually, those ones I don't make it to because I'm on the armory grind.
Right,
But
right.
so yeah, it varies a bit, but I would say at least in the past, the most common time has just been in the mornings.
Okay, okay. And so, from what I'm hearing, correct me if I'm wrong. You guys have a good amount of players. How many players do you guys have on your team? You know.
So officially, the team has 19 players on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So 19 players. So it's a good amount of players. And because there's so many players, you can't, like you said, you can do it Monday through Friday. Maybe not everyone's doing Monday through Friday, but you can always find games Monday through Friday, basically. Okay. Cool. Okay. Final question for the teams. What online? Because I also play online. We're spread out as well. So, what online clients do you do for CC and then for drafting?
So for CC, we've used both TTS and Talishar. I
Okay,
think Talishar has kind of become more popular over time just because it's a lot faster, easier to just jam games in.
true.
Um, so I would say now most people just use exclusively Talishar for constructed. And then for draft, we've tried multiple things. I think it is possible to draft on TTS. We've tried that before. We've also tried the I believe it's called Draft Fab, not Fab Draft,
Yep,
but yeah, that
yep,
website.
yep, yep.
Um, we did some of that for Outsiders Draft, and believe I believe that website has Monarch Draft up. I'm 90%
It
sure. I'm not
does.
actually. Yeah, okay. I haven't had a chance to do. My team has done a couple online drafts for Monarch, but I haven't actually had a chance to do one yet. But yeah, so
Hmm.
I think we'll be trying to use that website again.
Okay, cool. All right. Thank you, Brody. You are the first answers to these questions. Many more to come. But yeah, hoping to get a good video out there about this. So I appreciate that. Okay.
Oh wait,
So, oh yeah.
okay. I just realized I did do a Monarch draft on Draft Fab, and I totally forgot. That was a total lie. I just like
Ah,
went
that's
out my
all
brain.
good.
Anyway, yeah.
That's all good. How are people drafting Monarch in the local armories in Dallas right now?
Yeah, we're trying to get it going. I think it was last Tuesday there was a Monarch draft Armory, and I was really sad I had to miss that one. And
Hmm.
then we've been trying to organize more. I think there are several of us here who are really wanting to grind for Nats, so we're talking to stores and trying to get some of the formats switched over to like a Monarch CC rotation.
Cool, cool. Yeah, that would be a good help for that for sure. So yeah. All right. I think we covered everything. I guess you know what. Let's go over this real quick because people know. Congratulations on winning Battle Harm LA.
Thanks, Eric.
Doing it with Lexi. Very good. Um, you know, uh, it was Lexi Mir at the end. You're able to take it, and then you played the next day. You got top 8 there as well. So congratulations as well there. And then yeah, I mean you just had a nice day after round 1 of top 8. That was it. That's all that happened. It was just a nice day afterwards. But yeah, so congrats to that. I don't want people to think that I just bypassed that. So just want to say
Yeah.
that. Anyways, yeah, I think we covered quite a bit here. We covered some spoilers. We covered, how we prepare, what we think of, the local armories and the metas coming up. Anything else you want to talk about before we head out here?
Just that I'm really excited to jump into Dusk Till Dawn, and yeah, thanks for having me on. It's been fun.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Winning In podcast. Thanks again, Brody, for being on. And until the next time, we'll catch you later. Keep on fabbing.